Poison in the Dock, Episode 3, Dr. Crippen. Welcome to Pete's World of Poisonous Plants, the channel where true crime, toxicology and history all meet with a darkly humorous twist. This is Episode 3 of Poison in the Dock, Victorian Killers Unmasked, and today we're stepping into one of the most famous trials in British history, a case of marriage, murder, poison, and the first criminal manhunt ever cracked by wireless telegraphy. This is the story of Dr. Hawley Harvey Crippen. Crippen wasn't actually Victorian. His crime took place in 1910, just into the Edwardian age, but his tale belongs to the same poisonous tradition. He was a small, mild-mannered American homeopath living in London with his wife, Cora. Outwardly, they were a respectable couple. Inwardly, their marriage was toxic. She was domineering, unfaithful, and extravagant. He was quiet, submissive, and increasingly desperate. In January 1910, Cora vanished. Crippen told friends she had gone back to America, then changed his story, saying she had died abroad. Suspicion grew when his young secretary and lover, Ethel Le Neve, suddenly moved into the house wearing Cora's jewellery and clothes. Neighbours whispered. Scotland Yard began to investigate. What the police found was gruesome. In the coal cellar of Crippen's home at 39 Hilldrop Crescent, they uncovered a mass of human flesh, skin, and a small piece of pajama fabric. Though the remains were partial and badly decomposed, chemical tests showed traces of hyoscine hydrobromide, also known as scopolamine. This alkaloid comes from plants in the deadly nightshade family, henbane, datura, mandrake, and in high doses it causes paralysis, respiratory failure, and death. Hyoscine had medical uses in the Edwardian age, as a sedative, an anesthetic, even for motion sickness. But Crippen had purchased an unusually large amount from a chemist just before Cora disappeared. Police believed he had poisoned her, dismembered her body, and buried the remains in the cellar. But by then, Crippen and Ethel were gone. They boarded a ship, the SS Montrose, bound for Canada. Disguised as father and son, they thought they had escaped. But this was 1910, the dawn of wireless telegraphy. The ship's captain grew suspicious and sent a coded radio message back to Britain. For the first time in history, police tracked a fugitive across the Atlantic by radio waves. Inspector Walter Dew of Scotland Yard raced ahead on a faster liner, the SS Laurentick, and intercepted the Montrose before it reached Canada. He boarded in disguise, confirmed Crippen's identity, and arrested him and Ethel in front of astonished passengers. The press had a field day. It was the crime of the century. Back in London, Crippen's trial at the Old Bailey was front-page news. The prosecution laid out the case: a troubled marriage, the sudden disappearance of Cora, the traces of hyoscine in the body tissue, and the suspicious flight with his secretary. Experts testified that hyoscine in the quantities Crippen bought would have been fatal. The defense claimed the remains couldn't be proven to be Cora, and that Crippen was simply a desperate man fleeing gossip. But the jury didn't hesitate. After less than half an hour, they returned a verdict: guilty. The judge donned the black cap and sentenced Dr. Crippen to death. On November 23, 1910, Crippen was hanged at Pentonville Prison. Calm to the end, he insisted he was innocent. Ethel Le Neve was acquitted, though her reputation was ruined. Crippen's case lives on in legend. Some argue to this day that the remains in the cellar weren't Cora's at all. Modern forensic studies have questioned the identification of the tissue. Was Crippen truly guilty? Or was he the victim of circumstantial science? Either way, the case made history, proving how poison plants and police science shaped the age of crime. So that was Episode 3 of Poison in the Dock. Victorian Killers Unmasked, the case of Dr. Crippen, hyoscine, and the world's first wireless manhunt. If you enjoyed this poisonous tale, give this video a like, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Pete's World of Poisonous Plants. Because sometimes, the deadliest stories aren't buried in the garden. They're hidden in the cellar.